Welcome to Franchise Focus. I'm Laura Blackmore, your host, and a franchise consultant with over a decade experience in franchising. Franchising isn't one size fits all, and this podcast helps focus on what truly matters. Each week, we pull back the curtain with top industry experts, whether you're exploring your first franchise or expanding your portfolio. Let's dive in. Welcome to the show. Today, we're talking with Matt Genova, business startup consultant at Naturals2Go and former franchise consultant. Matt brings decades of corporate marketing experience and a passion of helping everyday people build income through clean, automated convenience. Naturals2Go has grown to over 2,000 owners and nearly 20,000 machines, delivering healthy snacks and drinks in offices, break rooms, and public areas. In this episode, we'll break down Naturals2Go's unique model, no royalties, no storefront, and fully turnkey. So welcome, Matt. So good to have you on the show.
I am happy to be here. Long-time watcher, first-time guest. So here I am.
Good. Can you give us a little background about yourself? A little more detail, how you got with Naturals2Go, and then we can get into the model.
Sure. Actually, the story's kind of really interesting. So I spent 20 years of my career in the media space. Mm-hmm. When I was liberated from that job, which is the term I like to use, I did what many people like you talk to every day. It's like, what's next?
Every day.
I decided I got to go look on my own. So I investigated franchises and looked at business for sale. I actually worked with a franchise consultant. And then towards the end of the process, I said, franchise consultant does. I think my skills are transferable to this. So I started my own franchise consulting business. And as you know, you get to look at a portfolio of 700 different brands, right? And at some point, at the end of that process of helping other people launch their entrepreneurial journey, I did step two and invested in one of the brands, which was Naturals2Go. My wife and I launched a business when we relocated to Florida. And then I was hired by the company to do exactly what I'm doing now, is help other people explore this unique and exciting opportunity in unattended retail.
So you've got a lot of perspective. You've been on both sides of the franchise world. And then you've also been on the side where you're probably talking to a lot of people that are looking to do what you did, which is find that next step.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the model a bit about, I think everybody thinks they know what vending is, but really what Naturals is, what it entails, and what that business really requires of an owner?
Certainly. Great first question. So look, in a nutshell, we're bundling world-class equipment, high-end corporate training, second-to-none service, support, guarantees, because at the end, it's really about the people. If our people are not happy and thriving, our business will not evolve to what it is. We have here at Naturals2Go a proven business model. Nearly 40 years in the making. We've trained, as you mentioned, over 2,200 vending business owners to date. One stat I recently heard is that we have touched somewhere close to 15% of all vending owners and operators out there at some point.
Wow.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good reach by an industry that's not dominated by that 800-pound gorilla, which is fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
So here's the key, and you know this because this is sort of where you make the transition to the business model. The machines are the workforce, right? Mm-hmm. You're managing the machines. An owner, that's what they're doing every day. And it is the perfect employee, right? Why? Yeah. No sick days, no vacation, no headaches, no squabbling, no sales meeting travel. And by the way, no performance reviews, right? It makes it simple for first-time entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, busy individuals, all of them to just get started with ease. Now, operators in our model can start part-time. They can start full-time. But at the end of the day, they grow at their own pace because they know they're supported every step of the way with our comprehensive, as I mentioned, our training, the technical training, online and on-demand support, the location services, and account management. At the end of the day, let me just leave you with this last piece, which I think is really the differentiator. Sort of, how do we continue to sustain close to 40 years? Well, a majority of the close to 180 employees we have now have Naturals2Go vending experience. We are tapping our own operators to come in and help translate that experience to our business model to make it better and to our operators to make them succeed. It's really, really a cool place to work.
That's fantastic. So what do you think has created that pathway for Naturals2Go to kind of dominate this niche, if you will, or at least touch 15%, which sounds ginormous to me?
I think it's really the fact that the market is still down. There's 8 million vending machines out there that are deployed.
8 million.
And most of them are still run by what I call route runners. Now, in vending, you build a route, but a route runner is somebody that shows up on the second Tuesday of the month, puts in the machine what they are told to put in the machine, and then they're off on their merry way, right? Essentially have disrupted that market and pretty easily. Great machines plus great customer service. Two things that did not exist together. So Naturals2Go machines are combo food and beverage. They're high capacity, high versatility, and technology forward, right? So based on the integrated management system, the machine is connected to the mobile network. So our operators are monitoring their machines in the moment so they can see exactly how their machines are performing by an app that's on their phone. So basically, the servicing, which used to be just done when that person showed up once a month, is now done on demand and not just randomly. God, it's been such a smart way to do business. And I think that's why we have gained this foothold. And then, the focus always is on that machine. So I'm talking about the technology. The technology has created this ease of use, but then you sort of dig a little bit further and you start to see, well, you could set up alerts, in this app for your machine so that it lets you know when those product levels that your customers truly desire are getting to that critical point where you have to make one of those service calls. And what happens when you walk in? You're the hero, right? Then on the product dispensing side, the dispenser drawer is monitored with lasers. So you will know if something is bought and then not dispensed because maybe there's some kind of issue. At the end of the day, you're dealing with a machine. Yeah. And with that frustrated customer doesn't get to the level where he or she won't use the machine anymore because you just go to the app and you issue an immediate refund. So that's kind of cool too. And then, with these machines, you're used to seeing your typical snacks, right? Everything. These machines can be configured to have anything: salads, sandwiches, burritos, yogurt. I mean, whatever an owner needs to put in that machine, they will put in, which is really cool. And then sticking with that, or going back to that technology theme, the fact that these machines take all forms of payment except crypto, not there yet, but everything, so if you see someone go and be able to choose what they want, hit the box with their Apple Pay on their Apple Watch is such a fantastic piece of this as well. So just really good stuff. It is, in essence, this whole industry is all about operational efficiency. You've got it on the machine side, right? And then the key thing that I always try to drive home to people is gone are the days when you're wandering through a store with a pallet for 90 minutes stocking your product. You just go online to the big warehouse stores, order your products, curbside delivery the next morning, and that thing is done in now 20 minutes. So the entire business is just efficient and exciting at that as well.
Talk about the machines a bit. Like, how do you, the quality of them versus others? And I'm sure they break down at times, and we'll talk about how that gets handled. And then how do you talk with folks that think, well, maybe I could just do this myself, go buy some used machines? What's the risk there? What's the upside of going with your new machines?
I think the problem, by the way, anybody can go out there and buy a refurbished machine or a machine actually brand new if they like. But what happens is, and these are conversations I've actually had with people who have done that, who have then come back to me and said, the 3 machines that I bought on Amazon are in my garage blocking my way to the washing machine. I said, interesting. Why aren't they out making you money? Well, I can't find locations, and the one machine got here, it doesn't work. I don't know who to call. So I always say the business is built for people who might have a fear or about their technical prowess, but want to know that they have someone to turn to. So as I alluded to earlier, you have a proprietary website of how-to videos and articles that pretty much address anything that you would need to troubleshoot your machine. We also have a technical support department, one that could be reached phone, email, text. By the way, they even FaceTime our operators. So they can actually see what the heck is going on at the machine. They go, see that wire there? Just move that over. You'll be done. And we also have a vibrant community on Facebook, private group, all owner operators. And all they do is do exactly what a community would do. They're there to help one another. They share product ideas, pricing ideas, and they also help each other troubleshoot issues that they might be having. So I would say the benefit is you're getting always know where to turn if you have a problem. If you do it on your own, you better know who's going to be answering that phone, when you have, actually find the phone number first and or the website, see if you can actually understand it, and then figure out if you can get your issue solved. But that's really the key here is knowing that you have somewhere to turn to get your technical questions answered.
Fantastic. Any owners that you can think about that started off small and have really scaled to be something large?
Oh yeah. Our largest operator launched his business with 20 machines, which is great. And he now owns and operates over 600 of them.
Holy
He does
cow.
it. He does it now. His enterprise is across 2 states.
Yeah.
He has his own warehouse. Actually, the big food and drink manufacturers actually drop ship to his warehouse, as you would imagine, when you have 600 machines.
Wow.
Even has a kitchen in there where he has a team making some of these healthier snacks and drinks, food, sandwiches, whatever it takes, whatever their customers want, actually from a kitchen, right to his enterprise. So we've got that. That's our largest scale. And then we've got everyone from 4 machines to those 600. We got a lot of people with 20 and 30, 40, 60, 80. The beauty about the model is, and you know this based on the background, is that you start with whatever level you feel comfortable with, and then you scale to achieve the objectives that you have set for yourself. We're not imposing anything on there. We don't have expectations of where you need to be or where you should be.
Okay.
The only expectation is that you know that we are there every step of the way to help you achieve the objectives that you set forth. So we got plenty of people that keep this as a side hustle, but we got a lot of people that launch it as a side hustle and realize, wow, this could be my plan B or alternative to what I'm doing now. Maybe I'm just going to reinvest everything in and continue to grow over time.
How long do the machines last?
I'd say our machines probably last 15 or 20 years.
Fantastic.
With basic servicing that keep them in shape. And by the way, the servicing, because I did it myself, is all but 3 to 5 minutes in terms of just maintenance at the machine to keep it running smoothly. Nothing at all.
And then how do they interact with where the machines are, like the business owner themselves? Are they building a relationship with those places that helps engage people to want to use their vending machine? How does that?
I would say that is one of the key things here. And this goes back to an earlier point that I made when this business was just run, a guy in a truck, a woman in a truck, just servicing. This is a customer-facing business. This is a business that needs to be worked at. So this is not passive. It's not it's more of a semi-absentee, as I mentioned. The machines don't create relationships. The owners create the relationships. So it's the ones that were out there, not only having a solid relationship with the decision maker at the location, but the one that's willing to interact with customers to maybe just hang out there for an hour after they service their machine, once a month, once a quarter, just to get to hear and see the people use the machines, understand their feedback, ask them for their input. Our operators, the most successful ones, are the ones that have created a two-way feedback mechanism, where some of them have created QR codes that link to a feedback form where that people can solicit or suggest product ideas. Most people do the rudimentary thing, like I did. You put a magnetic whiteboard on the machine. What would you like to see in your machine? Now, every time I had to go and I had to erase the Johnny Walker Black, sorry, cannot put that in the machine, or some other questionable things.
Yeah.
But there were really some good things that I wasn't thinking of that I said, okay, they're going to put in. So that kind of thing. And you know what happens? Our operators get invited to holiday parties. They show up on holidays and they bring gift baskets of products so that people don't have to use them. I mean, really, really good stuff. You just ingrain yourself in the location like any smart person would do to maximize their revenue.
When someone goes through a process of thinking, I want to consider part-time to start off, how do you help them understand what their role would be, what time is going to take, and then what that onboarding process is, how long, what are their expectations for how long it takes to build the machines, get them located, things like that?
Sure. No, great question. Here's what we've learned from surveying all of our operators is that once you get your operation set, you're probably dedicating an hour and a half to 2 hours per week per machine to your vending business. And that's all in. That has to do with your product sourcing, shopping for products. That's your servicing, your travel time. That's also doing your reporting and things like that. So that's the first thing, is to assess the time that people have to do this. It's a tough conversation to have. To do this as a side hustle is one thing. But if you have a full-time job that only allows you nights and weekends to do this, it's going to be a little restrictive because the types of locations you're putting guardrails on them. So we have to have people that have the flexibility in their schedule to be able to respond to customer needs and not just limit it to, a specific time of day, because it's not setting them up for success. It's setting the location up for frustration, and then that could be successful. So the key thing is time available. And then it's also, are you willing to get out there and network? Anyone that's going to be a smart business owner here is going to be wanting to scale their business, and to scale their business in the future, it's all about finding new locations on their own. And how do you do that? Just like any other small business owner would do in their community, right? They're going to tap into their personal network. They're going to join the chambers of commerce, maybe the local Rotary Society. They are going to advertise if they have to. A lot of business comes from referrals, right? You have your contact information on your machine. A customer of a machine in one location might be the employee of another location who is desperate for having an upgraded vending service there. So a lot of it is just, and here's the best one. You have driven from point to point B 100 times, right? And haven't noticed anything along the way, except the bright lights and maybe the fancy signs. But now as a vending owner operator, when you drive that same point A to point B, you're like, whoa, look at this parking lot. There's like 200 cars in there. What the heck business is that? You pull in and you go in and you want to assess their vending service. And this is what happens. You start driving in, popping into places on your daily commute or as you do your daily chore just to see what's out there. And that helps you learn about your market and ultimately be responsive.
That's very cool. Very cool. What do you think defines somebody that's successful in this business? What do you usually see that they have, qualities they have?
Yeah. So I would say in general, our ideal candidates, and I guess this would be applicable to most people looking for the smart ones out there, they want a clear path to ownership. They want some structure. They want some flexibility, right? And they also want the support. They're likely to be ambitious. They're eager to build something a bit different, because vending is a little bit off the beaten track. But they don't want too much hassle. They want all the heavy lifting and the big thinking thought of already for them. They have a vision to create a self-service retail enterprise that's responsive to the needs of their marketplace. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for someone that's just ready to hitch. We want someone that sees themselves as the resource to address any need in unattended retail, or I use the term just now, self-service retail. It's all the same thing that their marketplace demands. We want them to think of themselves that way. And by the way, we're finding a very diverse mix of people that fit that criteria. So I've got, and personally I've placed, but the company across the board has placed ex-professional athletes. I've got a lot of military veterans, a lot of retired C-suite executives who are sort of looking for something to do. People, as I talked about, transitioning or wanting to transition or have been transitioned out. A lot of women who are looking for new income ideas. We got a lot of family businesses.
Yeah.
Parents that come in, that bring their kids in, that want to teach them entrepreneurism at a young age.
Yeah.
By the way, when they meet with their CPA, they learn there's a tax benefit to hiring your kids.
Right.
I'm no expert in that, so I'm not going to speak to it. But it's really who fits the bill. The common trait amongst all of them are the ones that take ownership of the process, Laura. They're doing it from the onboarding process that happens before training to coming right out of training. They're taking ownership of everything. They're interacting with people. They're tapping into our community of owner-operators. They're trying to learn as much as they can, and they want to get out there and do for themselves what the company, and at the end of the day, has promised to do for them.
Is it a physical job in terms of, do you need to be able to lift a fair amount of heavy stuff in terms of the drinks or whatnot to be able to fill machines?
I would say that the heaviest part of this probably is lifting that case of water, that 36 value pack.
Yeah.
From your trunk onto the dolly that you're going to have. But ultimately what happens is when you set up your inventory room, you are building kits or bins for each of your machine, which, as you know, as we discussed earlier, you know exactly what you're putting in those bins. So
right.
From your inventory, you're stacking it. And typically that's nothing. You're looking at, 20 pounds maximum, but that you're pretty much putting on a dolly. You're wheeling it to your car, putting it in, taking it out, and wheeling it to the location. So it's really not, we got a lot of heroes out there that want to stack 2 and 3, 4 cases of water. I don't advise it to do that. But otherwise, it's really just that in terms of the physical.
What's one of the most unique places that a machine's been placed?
We have somebody who is in an underground mine. Now, here's a funny thing to the story. Not that the mine is funny, but there were only 30, 35 employees. So initially, the thought was there is no way a vending machine is going to survive here. Yeah. But part of understanding what a good location is you don't want to just go by employee count. You want to understand the demography of the employees. Right. And turns out that, it was primarily male employee based. Most of them were much larger than me because they don't have the luxury of leaving that mine right. and going to get something. So they depended upon the service that was provided. So it turns out that location, unique, was also one of the highest producing locations because people use that 3 times a day for both food and drink. Pretty cool. Pretty in an underground mine. Never thought I'd hear that. But
was there a challenge with electricity, or no, I guess not?
Listen, it worked. But at the end of the day, locations for vending is, or the most ideal locations for vending is what's going to expose the machine to the most amount of traffic in a given work week. So think about businesses that are open 6 and 7 days a week and have multiple shifts per day. Those are the holy grail of vending. So manufacturing, production, shipping, warehousing, hotels and motels, fitness centers, hospitals and related medical centers that have popped up all over the place, car dealerships, car washes, assisted living facilities. All of those businesses are virtually 7 days a week and around the clock. So those are the best places to have machines. Again, exposing the machine to the most amount of traffic in a given week.
You typically displacing other machines, or you be able to find brand new locations that don't have any machines? How's that typically?
That's a great question. It's actually a combination of both. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the operator will keep track as they have their scaling opportunities in mind of business development in their area. But more often than not, we are walking in and our opening question is typically like, hey, do you have vending services and are you ready to upgrade them? It's usually well, what do you mean by that? And then a conversation takes place. And oftentimes that's exactly what we're doing. We are displacing a current vending service. As I referenced earlier, with 8 million machines out there and most of them still old machines with no technology, no real technology to speak of. Some of them still only take change, not even dollar bills. Yeah. When they see our machines and they hear how our operators are trained, kick them out, put us in. Absolutely. Great question.
Yeah, fantastic. And then typical range of investments, or what's like the average that somebody comes in? How many machines?
So we allow people to come in starting at 4 machines to a maximum of 20 to start. Our average right now is between 8 and 10 machines, which is about 100 to 125,000 investment. And that's the all-in package. So that's coming with all the deliverables of, the tech support, the warranty, the premium shipping, the locating services, et cetera, et cetera.
How long does it take typically for once a machine gets into a location to start, producing at a typical run rate that it's going to stay at?
Well, here's what I'd say there is that when a machine is placed, based on the research that we train our operators to do ahead of time to understand what potential customers want to see in that machine, it should be generating the revenue that they're expecting on day one. Now, of course, there's a new machine, some people don't know about, it'll ramp. But if you do it right, so for instance, I'll give you a very practical example. We have an operator who've got access to the email addresses of all the employees in a 300-person facility. The company, they created a survey of all the different product categories and the top 20 products in those categories and put it out. Said, if you saw this in your vending machine, would you buy this? And basically took the top 5 of every single product category and put it in that machine. Day one was a success. And all that person had to do was optimize it over time. So that was great. Again, not guessing what should be in there, but we've had operators who said, here's where the machine's going to be. And they put tape, a box, and put a chair and sit there all day with a pad. Hey, I'm going to be the new vending operator, Matt's Vending. I'm putting a vending machine here. What are the top 3 things you would buy from a vending machine? What wouldn't you buy? That kind of stuff gets them able to start on day one with great revenue.
Fantastic. Any growth or projections or new upgrades that you think will start happening over time in whether it's micro markets or whatnot?
Yeah. So I would say there are 2 real exciting developments that are going. Actually, they're happening right now. So Just to be clear here, our operators launch their business with those machines that I told you about. They're combo food and beverage machines, refrigerated at the bottom, tempered on the top, and it can be configured in any way that they need it. We do this so that they can learn the business. They learn about product sourcing and pricing and cost of goods sold. They learn about sell-by dates and best-by dates and customer service and storage. They really learn the industry with the machines. They are now, our operators right now, are empowered to scale their businesses with a portfolio of self-service retail products that we already have. So that means getting into AI-powered smart coolers, water machines, coffee machines, pantry services, micro markets, everything. As I mentioned earlier, we are so ideally positioned for that operator that wants to be the total market solution for their customers in the region they want to operate. They can respond to anything they need. So that means using the portfolio to upsell and provide a broader array of services, or using that portfolio to get into places that they couldn't get in because they don't need traditional vending. That is the beauty of what we do. That's number one. And I'd say the second thing we're in the process of doing right now is building out regional operating centers across the country. Right now, we have two of them. One is in Savannah, Georgia. One is in El Paso, Texas. And they're going to be designed to provide extra support to the operators in and around that area. They're also going to be building out a unattended retail footprint in the area that they are in. But that's just more at a much larger scale. So think about the things, not just the vending machines, but really focusing in on the micro markets and the pantry services and things of that nature. So as those build out over time, and we have them all over the country, we sort of have a goal that a local operator won't be more than 4, maybe 5 hours from a regional operating center. As I mentioned, you can go there for product, extra training. We're going to be storing product and equipment there that will be able to get to operators at a much more timely basis. Really, really exciting stuff happening here at Naturals2Go.
That's fantastic. Anything else you wish buyers would maybe ask more often when they're going through the process with you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it really would go back to what you mentioned earlier about the time needed to do this business, because people come into this too much thinking this is a set it and forget it, and almost more like an ATM than a vending machine.
Okay.
That's the key thing. As I want to know, well, how much time do I really need to dedicate? And let me self-reflect on my typical work week to see how this will fit in.
Okay.
That's the question. So I know I personally, and my team is making sure we are getting into that a lot more on the front end of all of this.
Right. Anything else you want to share with prospective buyers?
You know what? I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Vending is a fun business. It is a simple business model. You have to be involved, but the simplicity allows you to get involved in a very fun way, because it's just you. You don't have a bunch of employees that you need to manage, and you sort of set your own hours. You're working from home. You're nimble, and it's food and beverage. Everybody's hungry and everybody is thirsty. You're providing a valuable service to the location, and you're providing a valuable service to your customers. Why not be the person that delivers that?
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much, Matt, for your time.
You got it. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah.
I'll be back next week too.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All right.
That's a wrap for this episode of Franchise Focus. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and inspiring. If you're thinking about franchise ownership or want to learn more about the brands we discuss, connect with me on LinkedIn or visit my website at blackmorefranchiseconsulting.com, or just leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share it with someone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Franchise Focus.